All right, in this video, we're going to review slopes of linear functions. So what is a slope? Slope is our vertical change compared to our horizontal change. We also use the terminology rise over run, and it just means the difference in the y coordinates. So you subtract your y coordinates divided by the difference in your x coordinates. Subtract your x coordinates. Now, your x1 and x2 cannot be equivalent to each other, so you can't get 0 in the denominator. When you're given 2 points labeled x1, y1, this will be point 1, and point 2 labeled x sub 2, y sub 2, your slope is going to be the difference in the y coordinates. So you subtract y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1 to get your slope. Here's an example. If we're given 2 points, -2, -8, and 6, -4, we will first go ahead and label those points. Our first point we're going to label as x sub 1, y sub 1, and our second point we're going to label as x sub 2, y sub 2. Then we're going to substitute those values into our formula to find the slope. Remember, it's the difference in the y coordinates. So y sub 2, -4, minus y sub 1, which is -8. In the denominator, x sub 2, which is 6, minus x sub 1, which was -2. And then we simplify. -4 minus -8. Remember, negative and negative makes this addition. So that's -4 plus 8 gives us 4 in the numerator. In the denominator, we have the two negatives again. So that's 6 plus 2 gives us 8. And 4 divided by 8 can be simplified as 1/2. You can divide both the numerator and the denominator by 4 to get 1/2. So this is our slope. Now here's an example I want you to try. If you have these 2 points, 4, 0, and -2, 3, find the slope using the formula y2 minus y1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. All right, now you've had a chance to try the example. You should label your points x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2, and then substitute those values into the formula. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 gives us 3 minus 0 in the numerator. X sub 2 minus x sub 1 gives us -2 minus 4 in the denominator. 3 divided by -6 gives us -1/2. Here's some hints. Remember that the slope of the line is going to be the same no matter which 2 points you choose on that line. And when you're trying to find the slope of any 2 points, it's best to go ahead and label the first point or one of the points using sub 1s and the second one using sub 2s. If you're given an equation written in slope-intercept form, you remember that your slope is going to be m. So the number that's in front of x is your slope. The y-intercept is the term that's behind x. Sometimes it could be a minus. This may be minus b instead of plus b. But your y-intercept is b. And as an ordered pair, your y-intercept is 0, b. Your x-coordinate is always 0 at the y-intercept. Here we're going to find the slope of a line when we're given this function, f of x equals 2/3 x plus 4. What is our slope and our y-intercept? The slope is going to be the term that's in front of x. Remember, our m is 2/3, the number that's in front of x, and our y-intercept is the number that's behind x, so it'll be 4. When you're given an equation written in function form where you see f of x is the same thing as y. So this is the same thing as y equals. The right side of the equation has the same values where the M and the B represent the same terms. Find the slope of the line. When we have this equation, 3x minus 4y equals 4. First, we want to solve for y. We're going to subtract 3x from both sides of this equation. From the left side and the right side, the 3x's will cancel on the left side, leaving negative 4y equals negative 3x plus 4 on the right side. Now we're going to divide both sides of the equation by negative 4. And the negative 4's cancel, leaving y. On the right side, you have negative 3x divided by negative 4, so you divide both. Negative 3 divided by negative 4 gives us positive 3/4, and 4 divided by negative 4 gives us negative 1. Now, we want to write our equation in slope-intercept form. It's already written for us here. We're going to identify the slope in the y-intercept. Our slope in front of the x is 3/4, and our y-intercept behind x is minus 1 or negative 1. Now you try an example. Find the slope and the y-intercept of this line with the equation 2x minus 3y equals 9. Now you've had a chance to try. You want to first solve for y. Get y by itself. You're going to subtract 2x from both sides of the equation. And that gives you negative 3y on the left side equals negative 2x plus 9 on the right side. Divide both sides of the equation by negative 3. The negative 3's will cancel, leaving y on the left side. And on the right side, negative 2x divided by negative 3 gives you positive 2/3 x. And 9 divided by negative 3 gives you negative 3. So we can see what our slope and our y-intercepts are. Our slope is 2/3. Our y-intercept is negative 3. All right, we have an adult pass for Disney World, where we're using y to represent the adult pass. You can find that price using the equation 3.32x plus 44.10. And x is the number of years since 2000. Use this equation to predict the price for 2015. So we're making a prediction for the adult price in the year 2015, which will be 15 years after 2000, right? So x, remember, is the number of years since 2000. So that means for x, we're substituting 15. That's 15 years after 2000. We'll substitute 15 for x into the equation. We'll get y equals 3.32 times 15 plus 44.10. Simplify here. 3.32 times 15 gives us 49.80, and then we're going to add 44.10 to get the adult price, which will be $93.90. Part B, what does the slope of this equation mean? So this number that's in front of x, what does that 3.32 mean? It represents the dependent value. So the number of years since 2000, and it's going to be the increase in the ticket prices. It goes up by $3.32 per year after 2000. That's an increase because it's a positive number that you're multiplying times x. Part C, what does the y-intercept mean? What does this $44.10 represent? That represents the constant amount. It doesn't matter how many years after 2000. You always have that 44.10. And that price remains the same since the year 2000. Now we want to find the slope of a line when we have just one variable, when x equals -5. In this case, we do not have a y-intercept. The line does not cut through the y-axis. You want to imagine a coordinate plane where on the x-axis we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're at -5. The line that goes through x equals -5 is this vertical line up and down through -5. It never touches the y-axis. Because this line never touches the y-axis, our slope is undefined. It doesn't exist. On the flip side, if we have this equation, y equals 2, what would our slope be? Our slope is going to be 0. So if we have a coordinate plane and we graph the line of y equals 2, we would go to 2, 1, 2 on our y-axis, and the graph of the line would be a horizontal line left to right. Our slope is 0. The slope of any horizontal line is 0. The slope of any vertical line is undefined. You want to have that in your notes. You also should be able to look at graphs of lines and determine whether the slope is positive or negative. We look at graphs from left to right. When we look at this first graph on top, as we view the line moving left to right, you see how the line increases? That means our slope is positive. In the second example, as we view the graph from left to right, can we see how the line decreases? That means our slope is negative. And again, any horizontal line, a line that goes left to right, your slope is going to be 0. And every vertical line, if the line moves up and down, your slope is going to be undefined. Now, parallel lines are lines that never touch each other. So here's an example of two parallel lines, and parallel lines have equal slopes. They have the same slope. Alternatively, perpendicular lines do intersect. They intersect each other to form 4 90-degree angles. And their slopes relate to each other. If you multiply them together, you'll get -1. But what we need to know for our notes is that perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. Their slopes are opposite reciprocals of each other. And remember, a reciprocal is what you get when you flip a fraction. So if we have 1/3, we flip this fraction, that will be the reciprocal, which would be 3/1. Now for this example, we're going to determine whether we have lines that are parallel, meaning that their slopes are equal, perpendicular, meaning that their slopes are opposite reciprocals, or neither. So look at the first example. We have 3x plus 7y equals 4 and 6x plus 14y equals 7. First, we got to find the slope of both of these equations. So we're going to solve for y. For the first equation, we're going to subtract 3x from both sides of the equation first. And for the second equation, we're subtracting 6x from both sides of the equation. Afterward, we're going to divide the equation on the left side, both sides by 7. And the equation on the right, we're dividing both sides by 14. Now, when we do that, we'll get our slope as -3/7 for the equation on the left side, and our slope is -3/7 for the equation on the right side. Because these slopes are the same, we would say that these two lines are parallel because they have equal slopes. Part B, we have -x plus 3y equals 2, and 2x plus 6y equals 5. So we need to solve for y again. With the equation on the left side, we're going to add x to both sides and divide by 3. With the equation on the right side, we're going to subtract 2x from both sides and divide by 6. And when we do that, we'll get our slopes as being different, right? So what we see is the slope with the equation on the left side is 1/3. And our slope with the equation on the right side is negative 1/3. We can reduce that negative 2/6 to get negative 1/3. Although the signs are opposite of each other, they're not reciprocals. So that's why it would be neither. And now we'll try one more example. If we have x minus 2y equals 3 and 2x plus y equals 3, we're going to solve for y. Subtract x from both sides of the equation on the right, and subtract 2x from both sides of the equation on the right side, so right side and left side. And then we're going to divide by negative 2. We'll get 1/2 x. And over here on the right side, we'll get negative 2. So how do these slopes relate to each other? They're negative and positive, so they're opposite signs. And they're also reciprocals of each other. If you flip these two fractions, you'll get reciprocals. Therefore, these lines are perpendicular. And that concludes our notes.